Mass, which was a television masterpiece where laughter merged with the heartbreak of the Korean War, leaving a lasting imprint on audiences through unforgettable characters like the witty Hawkeye Pierce and the steadfast Colonel Potter. Yet behind the glow of these performances lay the tragic fates of many talented stars who left us too soon, due to illness or unexpected turns of life. In this story, we'll uncover the tearful truths and hidden struggles behind the smiles, paying tribute to their legacy and reliving the unforgettable moments MASH brought into our lives. Are you ready to uncover the untold secrets? William Christopher as Father Francis Mulcahy. William Christopher, born October 20th, 1932, left a deep mark on television history with his portrayal of Father Francis John Patrick Mulcahy in the legendary series MASH, 1972 to 1983. He took on the role at age 40 and appeared in 213 episodes, becoming the moral and spiritual heart of the 4077th, one of the show's most beloved characters. But behind the screen, Christopher lived a life of quiet burdens. A devoted father, he and his wife Barbara raised a son with autism, dedicating themselves completely to his care. They became early advocates for autism awareness in the United States and co-authored the book Mixed Blessings, a moving account of their emotional journey through parenthood, a journey filled with both tears and deep love. Yet another wound ran deep within Christopher, his frustration with Hollywood. Though a familiar face on MASH, he felt typecast as the kind-hearted priest and longed for deeper, more complex roles he was never offered. Industry insiders said he was often deeply frustrated, but chose to remain silent. Toward the end of his life, tragedy struck again. Christopher privately battled small-cell lung cancer, a fight he kept hidden even from his fans. He passed away on December 31, 2016, at his home in Pasadena, California, at age 84, exactly 1 year after the death of his co-star Wayne Rogers. His quiet departure stunned Hollywood and the fans who had loved him for decades. Harry Morgan as Colonel Sherman T. Potter. Harry Morgan, born Harry Bratsburg on April 10, 1915, was one of the most seasoned faces on American television. At age 60, he joined MASH as Colonel Sherman T. Potter, the stern but warm-hearted commanding officer who appeared in 180 episodes from 1975 to 1983. With his silver hair, steady gaze, and deeply authentic performance, he became the father figure of the 4077th, a truly irreplaceable presence in the eyes of fans. But behind the kindly exterior was a life marked by hidden storms. Morgan's first wife, Eileen Dechon, with whom he shared nearly 45 years, passed away in 1985. His second marriage to Barbara Bushman seemed a peaceful chapter, until 1997, when Morgan was arrested for domestic violence after reportedly beating her so severely she required hospitalization. The charges were later dropped after he completed an anger management program. But the incident cast a lasting shadow over the model father image he had spent his life building. Morgan also struggled with alcoholism, and many believed that his real-life emotional complexity helped shape the rich, multi-layered character of Colonel Potter. Over his 6-decade career, he appeared in more than 100 films and shows, from High Noon and The Glenn Miller Story to Dragnet, though he never considered himself a star. According to co-star Mike Farrell, Morgan was the rock everyone leaned on. Harry Morgan died peacefully in his sleep on December 7, 2011, due to pneumonia at the age of 96. His body was cremated, and his ashes were returned to his family. No grand funeral, no media spectacle, just a quiet end, much like the man himself. Though not without scars, his legacy lives on as the gentle, noble old soldier, both on screen and off. Kelly Nakahara as Lieutenant Kelly Yamato. Kelly Nakahara, born January 16, 1948, in Honolulu, Hawaii, entered the entertainment world with the heart of an artist and a deeply emotional spirit. At just 25, she was cast as Lieutenant Nurse Kelly Yamato in MASH, appearing in 167 episodes from 1973 to 1983. In her crisp white uniform amid the chaos of war, she embodied compassion and stability, a nurse who brought peace to soldiers, doctors, and viewers alike. Yet behind that gentle smile was an artist's soul, burdened with quiet regrets. After MASH, Nakahara struggled to land major roles. Though she was a talented watercolorist and represented in major ad campaigns like IBM's, she remained trapped in supporting roles, always living in the shadow of the character that made her famous. Rumors circulated that she had longed for leading roles, for creative breakthroughs, but Hollywood offered only crumbs, leaving her feeling isolated and disappointed, though she rarely voiced those feelings publicly. Her marriage to David Wallet was rumored to have seen its share of storms, though they had 2 children and often appeared together at charity events. She lived quietly, channeling her emotions into her art, signing her paintings as Kelly Wallet, a woman who didn't seek fame, but yearned to be heard. On February 16, 2020, Kelly Nakahara passed away from cancer at her home in Pasadena, California, surrounded by family and friends. There was no lavish farewell, no press release, but in the hearts of MASH fans, Nurse Kelly, with her warm eyes and steady smile, remains essential, a reminder that sometimes those in the background are the very soul of the story. David Ogden Styers as Major Charles Emerson Winchester III. David Ogden Styers, born October 31, 1942, was a multi-talented American actor, best known for his role as Major Charles Emerson Winchester III in MASH. Joining the show at age 35, he replaced the comic buffoon Frank Burns with a sharp, aristocratic, and psychologically rich character, appearing in 131 episodes from 1977 to 1983. Audiences remember him as the pompous yet kind-hearted doctor, a worthy rival to Hawkeye and BJ, and the intellectual soul of the 4077. But Styers' real life was far more complex than his witty dialogue suggested. A private and deeply gifted man, he kept his inner loneliness to himself. It wasn't until 2009, well into his 60s, that he publicly came out as gay. He admitted he feared the consequences. "My career depended on Disney voice work," he once explained, "and I was terrified Hollywood would turn its back on me." Though his revelation caused no scandal, it pushed him further into emotional isolation, and according to some sources, he became increasingly distant from colleagues. Styers' voice became iconic through Disney classics, Cogsworth in Beauty and the Beast, Governor Ratcliffe and Wiggins in Pocahontas, and Jumba in Lilo and Stitch, among others. But behind those animated characters was a man long burdened by silent anxiety and a yearning to be understood. In his later years, he turned to music, conducting more than 70 orchestras and becoming a central figure in the Newport Symphony Orchestra, his second great passion. David Ogden Styers passed away on March 3, 2018, at his home in Newport, Oregon, after battling bladder cancer. He was 75. He left no surviving family, but in his will, he donated his entire estate to local arts organizations. A final, quiet thank you to the place that brought him peace. Larry Lynville as Major Frank Burns. Larry Lynville, born September 29, 1939 in California, entered MASH in 1972 at the age of 33, portraying Major Frank Burns, a hot-headed, bumbling surgeon known for blindly obeying military protocol. Over 120 episodes, Lynville brought to life one of the 4077th's most despised yet unforgettable characters. Audiences hated Frank Burns, but they never forgot Larry Lynville. Sadly, the success of the role became a trap. After leaving MASH in late 1977, Lynville found himself typecast, unable to escape the shadow of Frank Burns. According to friends, he carried a deep bitterness, caught between the glory of his most famous role and the frustration of being perpetually misunderstood. Lynville's personal life was no less turbulent. He married 5 times, but only his final marriage to Deborah Guyton lasted. He was rumored to have struggled with alcohol and failed relationships, leading many to wonder, did the role of Frank Burns curse him, both professionally and emotionally? In 1998, Lynville was diagnosed with a malignant tumor beneath his sternum and underwent partial lung removal. Despite his determination to recover, complications from surgery proved too severe. Larry Lynville passed away on April 10, 2000, at the Sloan Kettering Cancer Center in New York. He was 60. Honoring his final wish, his ashes were scattered over the Pacific Ocean near Bodega Bay, a symbolic release from the burdens that haunted his life. Mlan Stevenson, as Lieutenant Colonel Henry Blake. Mlan Stevenson was born November 14, 1927, in Normal, Illinois, a name ironically unfit for a life that was anything but normal. At age 45, he took on the role of lieutenant, Colonel Henry Blake in MASH, appearing in 72 episodes between 1972 and 1975. Blake was bumbling but sincere, a kind-hearted commander who tried to maintain peace amid the chaos of war. The role earned Stevenson a Golden Globe in 1974 and cemented his place in television history. Yet it was Stevenson himself who walked away from that glory. In 1975, he left MASH, hoping for a greater career, a move he later called the biggest mistake of my life. The shows that followed, The Mlan Stevenson Show, Hello, Larry, and Condo, all flopped. He went from beloved to mocked, with critics even naming a satirical award after him, the Mlan Stevenson Award for leaving a hit show to become a star. His private life mirrored this decline. He divorced Nancy Steffens in 1977 amid rumors of infidelity and public disputes. Whispers of alcoholism and mental health struggles only deepened the portrait of a man who couldn't accept being a supporting figure. He wanted the spotlight, but after MASH, he found only shadows. On February 15, 1996, while recovering from bladder cancer surgery, Mlan Stevenson died of a sudden heart attack. He was 68. His ashes were interred at Forest Lawn Memorial Park in Hollywood Hills, among legends of the industry, reminding us that Mlan Stevenson once had everything, and lost it with a single misstep. Wayne Rogers as Captain Trapper, John McIntyre. Wayne Rogers, born April 7, 1933, in Alabama, brought to life the quick-witted and mischievous Captain Trapper John McIntyre in the iconic series MASH. He joined the cast in 1972 at the age of 39, forming a dynamic anti-war comedic duo with Hawkeye that kept viewers glued to the chaos and charm of the 4077. Off-screen, Rogers embodied his character's intellect and rebellious spirit. When he felt Trapper was being sidelined and no longer evolving meaningfully, he made the shocking decision to leave MASH after just 72 episodes, a move that stunned fans and changed his career forever. Though he continued acting in shows like House Calls and Murder, she wrote, he never reclaimed the same level of fame. But Rogers wasn't just an actor. He was also a sharp investor, testifying before the U.S. Congress and building a successful financial company. Still, behind his polished business acumen lurked silent struggles. He went through a painful divorce after more than 20 years of marriage, and rumors swirled of alcohol issues and a difficult personality that led to isolation within the entertainment industry. Wayne Rogers died on December 31, 2015, at age 82 from pneumonia in Los Angeles, on the final day of the year, just 1 year before his co-star William Christopher passed away. There was no grand funeral, no dramatic farewell. He left the world as he left MASH, choosing his own path without looking back. But to fans, the mischievous doctor remains forever alive in every frame and every laugh shared in wartime. Johnny Yoon as Korean translator. Johnny Yoon, born Yoon Jong-sung on October 22, 1936, appeared in MASH as a Korean translator in 4 episodes between 1976 and 1980, around the age of 40. His screen time was brief, but his charming humor and rare representation of Asian talent on American television left a memorable impression. Off-screen, Yoon was a trailblazer for Koreans in Hollywood. Discovered by Johnny Carson at a comedy club, he became a beloved guest on The Tonight Show, appearing 34 times, an extraordinary feat for an Asian-American comedian at the time. In the 1980s, he gained fame through They Call Me Bruce, and later hosted The Johnny Yoon Show, South Korea's first American-style talk show. But life wasn't all lights and laughter. Behind his bright smile were deep emotional wounds. He faced financial disputes, including allegations of mismanaging money. His marriage to Julia Yoon ended in 2010, and rumors of estrangement from his children circulated, suggesting his final years were marked by loneliness. In 2017, he was diagnosed with Alzheimer's and began losing not just memories, but fragments of his identity and former glory. Johnny Yoon died quietly on March 8, 2020, at the age of 83 in Southern California. Honoring his wishes, his body was donated to medical science. A man who once made Korea proud on Hollywood stages ultimately departed in silence, raising the haunting question, who remembers Johnny Yoon beyond the brief moments of laughter on screen? Edward Winter as Colonel Reese, Colonel Flagg. Edward Dean Winter, born June 3, 1937, in Ventura, California, wasn't a main character in MASH, but his portrayal of the delusional and menacing Colonel Flagg became unforgettable. Appearing in 17 episodes between 1973 and 1979, Flagg, self-proclaimed CIA agent obsessed with conspiracies and power, embodied the absurdity of extremism in an already absurd war. The character was a brilliant cocktail of dark comedy and sharp political satire, and Winter's performance turned Flagg into an unlikely fan favorite. But behind this manic persona was a classically trained Broadway actor. Winter was twice nominated for a Tony Award, for Cabaret, 1966, and Promises, 1968. In real life, Winter was intensely private. He married actress Linda Foster but rarely spoke of his personal life. His later years were marked by tragedy. He developed Parkinson's disease, a cruel illness that slowly robbed him of his voice and expressive abilities, the very tools of his art. Edward Winter passed away on March 8, 2001, at the age of 63. As he had wished, his ashes were scattered over the Pacific Ocean, a final curtain call for a performer who moved seamlessly between drama, comedy, and madness. His legacy is forever tied to the unhinged Colonel Flagg, a character who made you laugh and shiver at the same time. Alan Alda, as Captain Benjamin Franklin Hawkeye Pierce. Alan Alda, born Alfonso Joseph d'Abruzzo on January 28, 1936, in Manhattan, New York, became the heart and soul of MASH through his role as Captain Benjamin Franklin Hawkeye Pierce. Starring in 251 episodes from 1972 to 1983, from age 36 to 47, Alda crafted an iconic television character, a brilliant, wisecracking, and deeply compassionate surgeon. His performance gave MASH its humanity and moral compass, turning Hawkeye into an American cultural icon. Behind the spotlight, however, Alda's life had its shadows. At age 7, he contracted polio and endured painful treatments to recover. As the lead of MASH, the pressures of stardom weighed heavily, sometimes straining relationships with co-stars like Wayne Rogers and Mlan Stevenson, both of whom left the show, feeling overshadowed. Adding to this emotional landscape, Alda watched his mother battle schizophrenia, a trauma that instilled in him lifelong questions about faith and human fragility. In 2015, Alda revealed he had been diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. Instead of retreating, he leaned in, writing books, hosting the Clear Plus Vivid podcast, teaching science communication, and even continuing to act, including a moving role as a kind-hearted lawyer in Marriage Story, 2019. As of 2025, Alan Alda is 89 years old. Though age and illness have affected his body, his spirit remains unshaken. He continues to inspire as a quiet warrior, not just a legendary Hawkeye, but a living symbol of resilience, intellect, and empathy. His story is still being written. Loretta Swit as Major Margaret Hot Lips Houlihan. Loretta Jane Swit, born November 4, 1937, stepped into television history at age 35 when she took on the role of Major Margaret Hot Lips Houlihan in MASH. Appearing in 239 episodes from 1972 to 1983, Swit portrayed a strong, principled, and emotionally layered chief nurse, a trailblazing female character amid a chaotic battlefield. With the success of Hot Lips came pressure and whispers. Swit was often labeled as tough off-screen, a characterization she firmly denied. After MASH, she remained active in theater, film, and television, but never found another role as culturally defining. Her private life was quiet. She was married to actor Dennis Houlihan from 1983 to 1988, a relationship that ended without public scandal but left an emotional silence in her personal journey. With no children, Swit embraced an independent and proudly solitary life, redirecting her passion into advocacy. Since 1981, she has been a devoted animal rights activist and vegan, becoming a leading voice in environmental and ethical causes. As of 2025, Loretta Swit is 87 years old. She remains a passionate artist and advocate, occasionally appearing on stage or in interviews, and continuing to write and support animal welfare. Though no longer a central figure in Hollywood, she stands as a quiet icon, one who defied stereotypes and lived life by her own fierce convictions. Jaime Farre as Corporal/Sergeant Maxwell Klinger. Jaime Farre, born Jamil Joseph Farah on July 1, 1934, in Toledo, Ohio, joined MASH in 1972 at age 38 as Corporal Maxwell Klinger, the lovable soldier in dresses, scheming for a Section 8 discharge. Across 216 episodes, Farre turned what could have been a one-note gag into a heartfelt portrait of resilience and identity. Klinger wasn't just comic relief. He was a reflection of individuality in a rigid system, and Farre faced his own battles behind the scenes. As a Lebanese-American and Korean War veteran, Farre brought authenticity to his role. He even wore his actual military dog tags on the show. At one point, he was so broke he worried about paying rent while filming his first episodes. But his dedication paid off. By season 4, he was promoted to series regular. Outside of fame, Farre lived a remarkably grounded life. Married to Joy Ann Richards since 1963 with 2 children, he chose family over celebrity and avoided scandal. However, his health faltered in 2014 when he collapsed on stage in Canada due to arterial disease. He underwent heart surgery and retired from performing in 2018. As of 2025, Jaime Farre is 90 years old. Though physically frailer, his spirit endures. He continues engaging with fans at conventions and hosts The Best by Farre, a MASH* tribute show. In Toledo, he's a beloved hometown hero, with a park, scholarship, and LPGA tournament named in his honor. Jaime Farre is proof that behind every funny character is a real human being, quietly making the world better. Mike Farrell as Captain B.J. Honeycutt. Michael Joseph Farrell, Jr., born February 6, 1939, was a fresh face when he joined MASH in 1975, stepping in to replace the character of Trapper John. At 36, few were sure whether Farrell could match the legacy of the show's veteran cast, especially after Wayne Rogers' departure left fans uneasy. But with his calm demeanor and natural warmth, Farrell transformed Captain B.J. Honeycutt into the embodiment of compassion and decency on MASH Star. Farrell appeared in 179 episodes, wrote 5, and directed 4, proving he wasn't just an actor, but also a creative force behind the show's soul. On screen, BJ was a devoted friend, loyal husband, and loving father, an idealized figure amid the chaos of war. Off-screen, Farrell lived out the values his character represented. After divorcing his first wife, Judy Farrell, who also played Nurse Abel on MASH, in 1983, he later married actress Shelley Fabares. But it wasn't his personal life that made him extraordinary. It was his tireless commitment to activism. As president of Death Penalty Focus since 1994, Farrell has become one of Hollywood's most vocal opponents of capital punishment. He's wept for victims, visited death row, and even assisted in a surgical operation inside a Salvadoran prison when no doctor dared step in. His activism spans from protesting the Iraq War and defending the environment to championing human rights worldwide. As of 2025, Mike Farrell is 86 years old. He lives with health and integrity, a humanitarian warrior who has carried B.J. Honeycutt's spirit into the real world. With no scandals, no drama, and endless passion for justice, Farrell remains one of the last moral torchbearers of old-school Hollywood. He is the quiet but enduring soul of MASH and of a generation of artists who believed in making a difference. Gary Berghoff as Corporal Walter Radar O'Reilly. In the 4077 unit of MASH, Corporal Walter Radar O'Reilly was the one who always knew when helicopters were arriving, when mail was due, and when someone just needed a hug, often before anyone said a word. Gary Berghoff, born May 24, 1943, was the silent yet steady soul of the show, appearing in 155 episodes from 1972 to 1979. But behind the camera was a story few people knew, of sensitivity, emotional pain, and a Radar who in real life also needed rescuing. Berghoff was the only actor to appear in both the original 1970 MASH film and the long-running series. He created a Radar who was innocent, sweet, and symbolic of the last traces of purity left in wartime. Few viewers realized he was born with Poland syndrome, which left 3 fingers on his left hand underdeveloped, a detail he skillfully concealed during filming. Even fewer knew the emotional toll the grueling production schedule took on him, leading to his departure after season 7. Despite the deep regret from co-stars like Mike Farrell. After MASH, Berghoff's career dimmed. Spin-offs like Aftermash and Walter flopped, prompting him to retreat from the spotlight and choose a simpler life. Rumors of financial hardship, gambling issues, and self-isolation followed, but no verified source ever confirmed them. True or not, these whispers cast a melancholic shadow over the Radar character, as if both actor and role quietly faded into obscurity together. Berghoff is a multi-talented artist, a jazz drummer, wildlife painter, inventor with several patents, and a passionate nature lover. He has been divorced twice, has 3 children, and leaves a lasting emotional legacy among MASH fans. Now 82 years old, Berghoff has effectively retired from the entertainment industry. His last acting appearance was in the 2010 film Daniel's Lot. Today, he lives a peaceful life devoted to painting, especially wildlife, and far removed from Hollywood's glare. The journey of MASH is more than just a collection of episodes. It's a tapestry of real-life stories, tragic and inspiring, that live on through the characters we loved. Revisit the series to relive those unforgettable moments and honor the stars we've lost. Which MASH character touched your heart the most? Let us know in the comments, hit like and subscribe so you don't miss the next remarkable story.